Hello, Internet, and welcome to episode number 203 of the Comic Watcher Show. I'm Matt, he's Chad, and we can't believe we're actually saying this, but we are sitting here talking with the Todd father himself, Mr. Todd McFarlane. Todd, how the heck are you in waterlogged California? I hope you're okay.
I am in waterlogged California, so I'm doing good. Actually, I just went and checked some pipes before I got on here to make sure we weren't overflowing, but appreciate you guys having the patience with me the last couple times. So glad I could make it this time. So
yeah, no, absolutely, man. We're happy to have you. So hey, it would be kind of awkward if we weren't happy to have you, right? So
why invite me?
So, man, listen, 2024, it's kind of a big year for you. We've got Spawn 350 hitting the stands. We've got a whole slew of new Spawn-related titles that are about to hit the stands. And we've got the 30th anniversary of McFarlane Toys. You've come a long way from the rubber bendy Violator that I used to have. So,
remember that one?
Oh, I do remember that one. And it even said Todd Toys on it, the pack, on the blister pack. So, man, how are you feeling right now? You kind of got the world by the neck, it seems.
So, I'll give you my personality, right? I mean, and again, I'm not saying it's good or bad. I'm just saying I'm Todd, and I can't do anything about it. Tomorrow is always going to be the most exciting day creatively for me, right? So, it doesn't. To me, it doesn't really matter what you did yesterday, because tomorrow should be better. What tomorrow gives you is momentum. And so if you have some success in the past, then what you try to do is, can you build on it and create the momentum moving forward, and use it? And if you can do that, then you might be able to sort of stretch out your career a little bit. And now, I'm pushing, man, I have to, in 1985, I signed my first contract, 84, first book came out in 85. So we're pushing almost 40 years now. So I've been able to find enough right answers amongst the many wrong. And the key to it all is finding enough people to support it. Here, because just so you know, I'm not looking for 8 billion people on the planet to like all my ideas, right? This is a bit of a misnomer by people. I need enough to keep going day after day after day so that I can turn those into weeks, months, years, and decades. I don't have to have everybody on the planet to like me and or what I do. I have to have enough every day to be able to do it one more day. And that trick has been working now for almost 4 decades.
Yeah. You've come a long way since that Dr. Fate cover on All-Star Squadron.
Yeah, that was...
Yeah, I work in a comic shop on the weekends, and I got to educate somebody on that particular cover. That total Dr. Fate fan. She's a young reader, just finding her way around, and loves Dr. Fate. And I said, "Oh, did you know that this cover da 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 da?" And so it went. Yeah. So I think that there is an awesome case to be made that people tend to think of you as the Spawn guy and the Venom guy before that, right? But there's so much more to your career, and it's what's more here before Spawn and Spider-Man. How do you feel looking back at your humble beginnings and looking at where you are now? I mean, again, Spawn 350 is this month or next. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, it's already at the printers. It comes out.
Yeah, man, that's insane. 350 issues of Spawn.
Yeah,
my hat is off to you, sir.
Yeah, well, again, it's just time. Like here, I mean, here's the thing that you just get there through time, right? I mean, the easy math is giving people you do a book a month. That's 12 a year. 10 years is 120. Multiply 10 years by 3 then you get 360 issues. So it's like 30 years. It takes 30 years to get to 350. Like you're in that range, right?
Yeah.
So it just takes a long time. The thing is that we don't historically have a lot of books run that many issues, even ones that began. Mine began in 1992 with the formation of Image Comics and my partners. And you don't historically have a creative sort of person force behind it stick with it for that long, right? I mean, even Stan Lee and Jack Kirby didn't stay with some of their ideas for 30 years, right? So, but they also didn't have ownership like I do. So I'm biased of hanging around the things that I do. But some of those other ones you mentioned before, the Dr. Fate, I think was All Star Squadron, and even the Infinity Incorporated that I did, and some of the Coyote stuff. You know, that those were the ones that I'd call them on the fringe, right? I mean, everybody sort of knows the big things you are, just like a celebrity that does movies. You know, they're like the 4 or 5 big movies, but then if you go to their database, you go, I didn't know they were in that movie, right? We do it with everybody. So those were my baby steps of getting into the business here and trying to figure it out, right? Here's what I would say about my early years. Here's what I would say about. I think that if you look at those pieces of work, they should be inspirational on this level. That if you want to break in, you want to be an artist or whatever it is, that you should look at that and go, what? That's that guy now? Like, they don't even look the same artistically, right? And that's the point. The point is that you can get in at a young age. You don't have to be at the top of your game, and you basically just climb. And the more hours you get, and the more they basically pay you to keep drawing, theoretically you should get better. So the early years should be the ones that, to me, should be way more inspiring. Of going, so you can be that crappy, and you can get into the business, and then you can turn into that. Like, I'm crappy too. I'm trying to break into comic books. If it can work for Todd, it can work for me. That's how it should go down.
Looking back in those early years, I could probably ask this question to any artist, right, or writer. There's obviously a certain level of skill, and you grew, and you became the artist that you became. But I mean, how much of that is attributable to luck as well? Just kind of being in the right place at the right time.
I've said before, look, I give lots of talks to a lot of like classes in schools, and my wife used to teach a class that was getting people prepared. She's a professor at university, and getting kids prepared to go from university into a career path. And so for me, I used to go in there and talk to them a little bit. I used to actually give 2 speeches, like at 2 different times. One is Todd, the artist, breaking in. Here's how it worked. Whoa, whoa, whoa. And then the other one is the CEO, Todd, who is like, now that you're in, how do you stay there? But one of the things I've always said, and I believe it to this day, is that you have to have a little bit of dumb luck along the way. I mean, it has to be, and at times, it almost has to be a semi-consistent pow. Like it just has to rear its head, like every now and then, because doing and hustling on your own and having skill on your own and trying to do it on your own, that'll take you a certain level, but you just need that break sometime, right? And my guess is that you could talk to almost anybody who's had a big meaningful career, and I don't care whether it's celebrity or not, right? They could be the CEO of IBM and I know that all of them would have their 2 or 3 moments where luck became part of the equation. So yes. And my big moment that I still play in my head, and there's been lots afterward, but this to me was like the one was I got into after years I got into Marvel Comics, and I was doing Coyote, but the book was already sort of not selling that well, and within 3 or 4 months they canceled the book, so I only did like 3 or 4 backup stories in it, and I was essentially out of work. I'd spent years trying to get in, and within months I was out of the business again. And I sent my samples off, and I've said before, the big difference is that where I was 4 months earlier when I was sending my samples, I was like Todd the amateur. I now could say, because I had done 4 10-page stories at Marvel, a total of 40 pages, that I was able to then say, hey, I'm Todd the professional, and I'm looking for work. So I mean, that word matters. But the moment came, I get the phone call from Roy Thomas, and he said his artist passed away. So, and that was on Infinity Incorporated, and that's how I ended up getting my first full-time book. Was unfortunately my lucky break ended up being the tragic death of another super talented man named Don Newton, who I admired his work. And so this is the one that I go, Don Newton, and he died because he drank unpasteurized milk. He was a health nut, and he drank unpasteurized milk, had an allergic reaction. By the time they get him to the hospital, he's dead. And I play it in my head, if Don doesn't drink unpasteurized milk that day, do I get back in the business? And if I do, is it like a year later, and then my path goes a completely different way, and I have a completely different career, if any career, right? So it's weird that it took the death of another human being to basically start me down my path. So, give me 1 second. I see that my computer is about to die.
Okay.
And I need to plug in my thing, because I probably drop more Zoom calls than any human being on this planet. I think I'm up to 383 Zoom calls. So give me 1 second.
Okay. All right. We're not going anywhere.
But I can hear you. I can hear you. Don't talk behind my back.
We shan't. We shan't. We learned our lesson about that with Larson.
Hey, okay.
He's relentless.
Right.
So
go ahead.
Kind of following up with what you just kind of talked about, if you had the chance, what would you go back and tell the younger version of yourself? You know, what advice would you give yourself?
On a career end? On the career end, probably it would be that the toy business is way harder than it seemed. It was, if I knew then what I know now, I probably wouldn't have got into toys. It was, I thought, we just make some cool little things out of clay and just go and whoo. No, you got to deal with manufacturing and shipping and logistics and government regulations and licensing and lawyers and approvals and da 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 da. And I'm like, I just want to make something super cool, right? Where like on the comic book end, once you got your plot, before I was writing, you just put yourself in the corner and you drew, and that was it. It was fairly simple, right? And it was art. And I just thought when I jumped over to toys, it would be like art, another sort of business of art. But it came with a lot more steps in the process. Let's leave it at that.
Sure. So, all right. Well, you've opened the door to talk about toys. So we've got the 30th anniversary of McFarlane Toys this year. Congratulations! It's huge.
Yeah, actually, this month, which is why we waited.
Nice.
To make a bigger deal about it. My first toy fair for years and years and years. Toy fair was always like over Valentine's Day. So all the people in the toy business had never been at home during Valentine's Day. They were out with plastic goods. But it was in 94 1994, I was at my very first toy fair. Yeah.
That's awesome. It sounds like you've certainly learned lessons along the way and learned how to differentiate the business of toys versus comics, art versus commerce, etc. And of course, there's an artistic level to your action figures as well, if I can even call them that. I mean, some of them are almost, statue level maquettes or something like that. Like what? And I remember way back when, maybe in a Wizard article or something to that effect, you saying you'd always wanted to have a toy company, and now you've got that toy company. How's that young man that wanted a toy company feeling right now?
So to be clear, I never knew I was going to have a toy company. The toy company. So you might have misread the.
It's been a while.
the toy company was just a spin-off of, again, we had started Image Comics, right? So now I've got comic books over at the side, and I was just trying to expand sort of like a foundation of the idea that was about to go forth, right? And the idea was Spawn at that point. And I felt, and I said before, that I thought there was 4 pillars. I thought there was 4 pillars that I could build upon: TV, movies, video games, and toys. I thought those are the 4. And if you could sort of plant your idea in those 4 corners, then it would create a foundation. I've said before, if you have a strong foundation, you can literally build a skyscraper on a strong foundation. Why? Because that's what they do. There's one foundation, and they can go up 80 floors. So the foundation is everything. And I thought, for me, that was the 4 I just created for myself. And I was able to get the TV and the movie and the video games fairly quickly. And the toys was the one that was sort of bouncing around, and I never felt comfortable in any of the conversations I was having with any of the Fortune 500 companies. And, they all came. And what it was is I just felt that they were going to do status quo, right? And just so you know, when I'm talking to those group of students about you have to have a little bit of dumb luck, I also say that I believe, in my experience, that the biggest enemy you're going to meet head on in life is status quo, which is essentially, my definition of that is people clinging to yesterday. Yeah. Right? People who want to do something new and different and make some kind of change. And I'm not saying better for the better. I'm just saying change. You leave it to everybody else to decide whether it's better or worse. But anybody who's ever tried to do something different, for the most part, ran headstrong into status quo. That's not how we do it. That's not why we do it. Why are you trying to rock the boat? Why are you trying to do this? And everybody is talking about yesterday. And if we all did that, if there weren't sort of the people, the hotheads, the rebels, the guys who just like can't color inside the lines, right? I've been called every name that there is. If there weren't people that had attitudes like myself, and thank goodness throughout history there's been plenty, then there wouldn't have been. What are you talking about? Then what? If you're going to cling to yesterday, then we'd all be living in caves. Mm-hmm. And somebody said maybe there's a more comfortable way, right? Like, so what I don't understand about humanity as a whole is for me, I think there are 2 constants in life. There are only 200%ers. One, we're going to die, each one of us. It's just a matter of one. And 2, change. It's a coming, and it's been coming, and it will continue to come. And if you just read any history book, you're going to see the advancements that have come. So why are we so reluctant to look forward, and as much as we are to cling to yesterday? So they were making toys. It's a big wound up way of saying they were making toys for 50 years a certain way. And when I came in, I just tried to do something different. Again, not better or worse. I leave that to the consumer. I'm trying to do something different. And everybody's like, you can't do it that way. You can't. Of course you can do it that way. It's clay in a fucking shape. I can put clay in any shape I want. Of course I can do it. And then you make a mold and you pour plastic into it and you heat it up and you got this thing. Of course I can do it. Whether it will sell or not, we can have that debate. Whether I can get it on a shelf or not, we can have that debate. But can you do it? Of course you can. Of course you can. So I just decided to take what I saw with my eyes and do essentially a cooler version of it. There was no other sophisticated thought other than that. Why can't toys be cooler? And we just tried it. And guess what? We found enough people to be successful so that we got to basically do it. So now I'm 40 years into comics and 30 years into toys. Cool, right? Like again, there must have been enough people that were aching for the same thing that I was aching for. It's just that I was fortunate enough that I could just go and do it myself. So sometimes people don't buy something because they think it's perfect. They just buy it because it's the only option that's available to us, because you sometimes sign contracts that are exclusive. And if the company with the exclusive makes mediocre product, that's all you get. You don't get any other option.
Sure.
So I came along and luckily, here's a great thing about there not being a lot of change along the way. If you sort of jump and you sort of catch up to modern times, which I thought toys should have, I thought Spider-Man should have, that all of a sudden your jump is way more noticeable than what I thought was Spider-Man should have been moving forward and toys should have been moving forward. So when I come along, I'm only moving it a couple inches instead of a half mile, right? And so I don't know, like the question isn't like, Todd, what'd you do? I didn't do anything original, in all honesty. It was my bigger question has always been when I close my eyes and I get confused, it's like, it's not why did I do anything? It's why didn't they do it? Why was that opening even there for me? It shouldn't have been. It shouldn't have been. But God bless status quo. So.
Right. Well, to get into what you were rhetorically asking there, I mean, people fear change because it's uncomfortable, right? It represents the unknown. So if you've got a business model that's making X number of dollars per year, hopefully on an increase from a business standpoint, but yeah, they're going to be scared to change.
I've seen two things on a small scale.
Yeah.
On a small scale, on an individual scale, what I've seen is people sort of going, well, what if it doesn't work? Right.
Right.
And so let me tell you, I have never, ever done anything in my life that at the beginning, I thought I was going to fail at. Why would I start anything that I was going to fail at to start with? Everything. No, that's like saying, I'm going to go drive to Las Vegas, but I don't know how to get there. I think I'm going to get lost. Well, then why would you go? I'm going to Vegas because I'm going to try. I think I know how to get there. It doesn't mean I haven't been lost in my life. So I've done it plenty of times. So from an individual point, it's the fear of failure. Let me just tell you, if you even have that hesitation, you're not an entrepreneur. Stop it. You're going to be an employee for the rest of your natural life. Stop it. So, okay, fine. The other one is from a corporate point of view, I agree. They're not, it's not that they're afraid. It's that there's an unknown, and the unknown is more risky than the known. Sure. So if you keep doing business the same way you did yesterday, and you made $3 billion as a corporation, why would you put any of that at risk?
Right.
Because you're making
it's a risk of
where people like myself go, yeah, because we're always wound up, that we go in there and go, yeah, you made $3 billion. But if you did it this way, you might make $4 billion, right? Like we're always like thinking like bigger and bigger instead of protecting what's there. But the protection, the status quo of protecting what's already there, seems to like 95% of the time be the shield that you have to get past, because nobody wants to take the risk. Why? Because if it doesn't work, then that CEO is going to get fired, or that manager is going to get fired. And what, like, look at, I'm going to tell you a horror story. I had a buddy, he's still my buddy, in Hollywood that was a big exec at one of the studios and had a cushy job. And I would go in there and I'd pitch him ideas and I'd go and from time to time. And then he'd phone me and he goes, Todd, how come it's been a while? You haven't come in and pitched me any movie ideas. And I go, because you never make anything. Right? He was working for one of the big studios. And then he finally said, which I knew was true, Todd. And he sort of looked, make sure nobody was in the room. If I don't make anything, I don't get fired. But if I make something, right? If I make something and it costs a lot of money and it doesn't work, I could get fired. It's safer, bizarre as this conversation is, it is safer for an executive at a big Hollywood studio to not make a movie. That was his protection so that he could just get his paycheck and make sure that he could feed the babies at home. All right. It seems weird to me, but cool. But that's just sort of it's human nature, that protect your own and don't worry about all the rest of it. Okay, cool. So those are the mountains you've got to climb, and the steep hills you got to climb when you want to do something different. That's all. Like, so here, like I've said before, and you guys probably heard me say before, when I was doing Spider-Man, I was getting beat up on by management at Marvel, right? As the sales were going up, I was just getting beat up, you know, and why? Because I was drawing Spider-Man different than they had been drawing for the last 20, 30 years. Okay. The difference in the drawing was never relevant to me. It was, I have a job, and my job is to sell comic books, period. That was it. That was all I had. Do the best you can so the comic books will sell, so that you can do your job, which is why they're hiring you, because they need to make the money back that they're paying for you. So that's it. Sell as many comic books as you could. I was doing that. In spades. The sales were going up. At some point, we were setting records. And they were more concerned about the look instead of the sale. They're in the commerce business. Marvel Comic Books has never been alive for one day in which the end goal is to make money. That's their corporation. That's what they do. And I'm not saying it's good or bad. I'm just saying that's what they do. And I was doing it, and it would be the equivalent of your boss giving you a directive of saying, Chad, I need you to be at a party at 10 o'clock tomorrow on Friday night, 10 o'clock. We're all meeting there. So your goal is to be at the party at 10 o'clock. And they give you the address. And then tomorrow you get to the party, the boss is there, you're there, you met his goal, you thought, and then they start belittling you because they're going, hey, Chad, just a quick question. How did you get here? Oh, you didn't go down Main Street, did you? No. We usually take Highway 5, and then we go up there, and then we take, like, you know, sort of Washington Street. And it's like, how did you get here? And they're arguing about the way you got there, even though the goal was to get there at 10 o'clock, which you did.
That cuts a little close. That's almost like my job for the state.
So that was it. At some point, I just went, guys, you don't have to like me personally. You don't have to like my art. You don't have to like the style. What you have to accept and like is that the sales are going up and I'm making you money. Like, I thought we were in the commerce business. Like, you guys, like, this is what you do for a living. So why do you care about how we got to success? It's a weird, like, I don't know. I'm a sports guy and I'm a baseball guy. And if somebody can come up to the plate and stand on their head and hit 30 home runs, they're going to be in the lineup. I don't give a shit if anybody else has ever stood on their head before, right? They're doing their job. Who cares? We get so hung up on the process of it. Why? Because we didn't do that yesterday.
Right.
And the evil of yesterday comes out again, right? So, anyways, that's it.
Okay. So speaking of tomorrow, you've got
No, we should get on a thing because tomorrow I might have something we never even thought about today.
absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. So this year you've got, count them, 7 new Spawn titles, Spawn adjacent related titles launching. That's a lot. You know, you've got the 4 titles, 4 titles right now,
Yep.
and we're adding 7 to it. Are you worried about oversaturation?
No.
Clearly not, because you're doing it.
Marvel puts out 100 books. DC puts out 100 books.
Sure.
We put out 50 books at Image. Like I'm not expecting any more than Marvel and DC. I'm not expecting somebody to come along and buy every book I put out. That's not the goal.
Right.
The goal is to put out product that you're proud of, that's of high quality at a fair price, and hope that you find enough people to support it. And here's how I think I might be able to do that. Number one, all those books aren't going to be monthlies, right? A bunch of them are only a couple of them are going to be continuing books. The majority of them are going to be like one shots, miniseries, 3, 4, 6, 8, whatever, right? The creative people, I gave them the latitude to sort of create the story that they wanted, right? And that was enough. But the thing that's more important to me is the variety that I'm about to offer, right? So the first one coming out is Sam and Twitch. And Sam and Twitch, yeah, I guess they sort of appeared here and there in the Spawn comic book, but it's a detective book. If you don't like superheroes and you don't like costume comic books and you want something like gritty and drama, that book might appeal to you. Because it's going to be, for the most part, moving forward, it's going to be 96% cop, detective, real drama. Sam and Twitch only hang out with Spawn every now and then, but in between those 3 or 4 times they hang out with Spawn, there's 360 other days in the year where they're a detective. And I want to shine the light on those 360 days when they're not hanging out with Spawn, when they're just being detective. So it's going to be a gritty, hard-boiled. We did it before. With the title.
Bendis knocked it out of the park.
Yeah, Bendis was on it. I came on, did the last arc, and then we had a couple others a little bit later, the case files, stuff like that. So there seemed to be a decent amount of people who want that. So there. So it's not the same thing. I think the next one is like Rat City, and it's to me it's more sci-fi. So if you like sci-fi and you don't want like sort of Americana superhero, this one might be a little bit closer to it, and it's sort of a kind of a story of like, what if you actually had a character, a person that had an impact? What would that mean in the future? So in other words, the Spawn we have today is called Al Simmons, but 100 years in the future, or whenever it's set, what's his legacy, and is it a good one or a bad one, right? We had a person named Hitler. He had an impact on this planet. And all of us now take a look at the history of Hitler, and you have 2 choices. You can either go, we're not going to make and do that again. Or you can be a white supremacist and you can actually make him your idol. Both people are alive and well today, 50, 70 years after his legacy. So everybody who has an impact, what is the impact of Al Simmons 100 years in the future? Is it good, bad, or indifferent? I don't know. You have to read Rat City to find out.
Well, you've got a pretty cool creative team on that one too, with Erica Schultz and Zay Carlos.
Erica Schultz, yeah.
So,
she again, they came to me with the idea, and I was like, super cool. Let's do it. When do you want to do it? Let's go. Most of the ideas, most of the new books that are coming out were not driven by me. I usually get on the phone. Hey, creative person. Hey, this is Todd. just curious if you'd ever want to do anything in the Spawn universe. Again, beggars and choosers. I don't know what your schedule is. I don't know what your time is. I don't know what your interest is, but I'll take anything between 0 and 1,000,000 pages from you. You set the template, and you tell me whether you want to do a monthly, one shot, 5 pages every 10 years. You want to use some of the characters. You want to invent new characters. I don't care. You tell me what would basically get you excited, and then come back to me and see if I can't reverse engineer and we can't do it. And that's where a lot of these new books are coming from. So they're not there. If you like Spawn and you think that they're all going to be Spawn kind of related, then you might be a little bit disappointed. But I'm arguing the opposite, that if Spawn isn't completely your cup of tea, that we're going to be giving you a couple tastes of things that I sort of encourage you to sample, because you might be surprised at these green eggs and ham. They might actually taste better than you think.
So I mean, you talked about Rat City. What about the one that kind of caught my eye, which it wasn't, very, the premise of No Home Here.
Yeah. So no hope here. It's a book by Daniel Nurkis, written by him, and then artwork by Jonathan Galapian. Jonathan's sort of the guy who most people know is the inker over Greg Capullo's run on Batman. But he's been doing a lot of covers for me and stuff. He was at my house. He was helping me on a project, I think issue 300. And I was like, man, you should do some covers. Your art is just super wicked. I think it's just super evocative. And he was like, well, I don't know, who's going to give me a cover? I go, I'll give you some covers, right? And I gave him some covers. I thought he knocked out of the ballpark. That one probably might be a little bit closer to sort of the Spawn orb, if you will, and it's sort of here where some of the other ones are a little bit further. But I think the idea that they have, and they got some new characters they're bringing in, combined with Jonathan's weird, interesting, quirky style, and I remember that when I first saw Bill Sienkiewicz's artwork as a young kid, I was blown away because it was so different, right? Jonathan sort of brings that. I think that book, I'm hoping, again, I have hope for all the books for different reasons. I hope that book sort of catches on, just if you just like sort of cool, odd, sort of superhero stuff and if you like Spawn, it's tied there, and then there's going to be some new characters going to be introduced.
That's exciting.
So there's one Spawn killer.
What is the book that people are going to be most surprised by?
Wow.
In your opinion.
Wow.
Like, I never expected this to come from the Spawn corner of the universe.
Wow, I don't know if we've got like a true romance book coming out or something that might sort of throw people for a loop. I don't know. I don't know that there's that book. I mean, we have the Spawn kills every Spawn, so that's for people who just like humor and just crazy over the top stuff, right? And
sure,
people who like sort of Scotty Young sort of vibe. This book is your thing. I think it's more of look. When I started collecting comic books, and I don't know what your progression is, both of you gentlemen, but I started collecting comic books kind of late at 16, and I just became consumed with sort of Marvel and DC and whatever else. But at some point, as I got older, although I still like superhero comic books, my taste, and I didn't need a steady diet of just superhero. I actually started craving more. And then all of a sudden Epic comes along, or some of the other imprints came along, and then I went, oh, so you can read books like The Walking Dead, and you can read books like saga, and you can read these other books, Constantine, right? That were sort of like, again, they were on the peripheral, but and they're comic books, but they weren't sort of classic superhero alter ego stuff that we all got raised on. And it was okay for me to then say, hey, at the beginning I was 100% superhero, and then it was like 90-10, and then and so now it's probably 50-50 that my tastes have changed as you get older. The same happens with your fashion, your music that you listen to, arguably your food palette. Everything sort of changes over time. Very few people say, hey, I do the exact same thing today at 40 and 50 that I did when I was 15. Most of us don't do that. So these books are just there as, if you like Spawn, but you just go, I don't need it like exactly the same thought over and over. Like I'm going to give you some slight altered, upside down versions of the thing that you already like. So it's a cheeseburger sometimes with bacon and mushroom. I don't know. See if you like that. So.
So let's talk about the big dog himself. Spawn number 350. And I believe, tell me if I'm wrong, because I've unintentionally misquoted you once tonight already. I think Brett Booth is coming aboard this issue. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Oh, thank goodness! I was gonna have shoe leather in my mouth if I wasn't right on this one. But how? What can you tell us about 350? This is a big one. It's been a few years since 300 broke all those awesome records, and now we're halfway again between 300 and 400. So,
yeah, so
what's it got, man?
Yeah, so it's not 400. It's sort of a midway point. So it's sort of a hybrid anniversary. But the short pitch is in issue 100, Spawn killed his maker, Malbolgia, right? The person who gave him the power. But and Malbolgia was the king of his realm at that point. And there's different realms. He was the king of his realm. And so I've mentioned sort of before, like over the last 250 issues, it hasn't been a big deal, but I've mentioned before, and so have other characters, that the throne is empty. The throne's empty. And so at some point, somebody is going to take over the throne and rule. And then we sort of came up with sort of recently that somebody found out that not only could you be the ruler, but if you sit on the throne, it augments your powers, which basically means, man, I'm not going to go and sit on the throne because somebody will come along and kick my ass, but not if I sit on the throne and I get triple the power. Wow, I may actually be able to take that enemy on. And so there became then a bit of an urgency to it. So the last couple of years, we've been a little bit more focused on sort of going towards the empty throne. And issue 350 is somebody's going to sit upon the throne. There's finally going to be an answer to that 250 issue void of who's going to sit on the throne. You do not have to, I've said before, you do not have to like have read any of the prior 250 issues. You don't have to. You just have to know what I just said. The throne's been empty. This is the one that's going to basically dictate who's on the throne, period. So you could pick up 350, go, oh my God, that's the answer. And then, and this is the piece that I'm trying to get across more, is that answer not only is a period at the end of the 250 issue question, it now is going to have an impact moving forward.
Sure.
And so as you sort of then buy any of the books, if I have, then, and again, I've got like the next book that comes out after 350 is King Spawn. So I'll show you here. I don't even know if you can see it, but
there he is.
Right, but it says right there, right?
Yes.
A new rule, a new ruler, a new world, a new direction. Right.
Okay.
It's gonna have an impact on the other books. Doesn't mean they're all tied. Doesn't mean you have to buy them all. I'm not saying any of that. I'm just saying that if you pick up 351 and you go, why is this happening? The answer is, oh yeah, that's right, because that thing I just bought in 350. That's why it's happening.
Is it fair to say that this status quo upset is as fundamentally big as was the death of the Malbolgia or Spawn closing the doors to Heaven and Hell in 300, etc.? Is it on par with that level?
Yeah, it's gonna reorder everything.
Okay.
So we'll see whether people find that to be interesting or not. But there's going to be a meaningful shakeup, and when you shake things up, the fun part about that is that wherever the pieces were, when you shake it, the pieces don't fall into the exact same spot, right? So like rolling dice, they come out different, and so that's where we're at, and the fun's going to be in if the characters and who they are and their rankings are going to get reordered, then so you're saying somebody who was number 10 now might be number 2? Wow, that's interesting, because they were never the big shot, right? All of a sudden,
right.
the bench warmer on your basketball team is now all of a sudden going to be your starting point guard and going to get the most points. Wow, that's kind of cool. And what does that mean? What does that even mean? So,
you know what I like about all that answer that you just gave, Todd, is you were like a kid at Christmas telling me that. What is it after 32 years of Spawn that keeps you interested, invested, and just excited about your creation?
Life. Every day you wake up with air in your lungs is a hell of a day, because there's a lot of people that don't have air in their lungs that didn't make it to today, right? Just look in the obituaries, right? Elvis Presley is not going to know who's going to win the Super Bowl this weekend. I am. Shit, it's good. I don't want to be Elvis. I know who's going to win the Super Bowl. It's going to be a good day for me on Sunday. Elvis, too bad, right? So I don't know. Life is good. Why? So I'm excited about life. I think it's good. I'm greedy about life. I know I'm getting to 100. I hope, if I don't get hit by a bus and get some disease. But when I get to 100, my only thing is going to be, can I get to 200? Like, why not? Why don't you want to hang out and live? And like, it's cool. I say that as part of because of my theory on life as a whole. I'm not religious on any level, right?
Right.
Like, so there's religious people, and then there's non-religious people, and then I'm like way fuck over here, right? So I ashes to ashes, dust to dust, which basically means to me, this is my heaven.
Yeah,
this is it. I've got 85 to 100 good years. This is my heaven, and then it's gone, right? And so I just want to soak it up. I just want to soak it up as much as I can. And that means creatively, ideally, and with the people I hang out with, and friends and family that I enjoy, then I'm going to do it. Last I heard, not that I believe in any of it. Last I heard, when you become an angel, you sit on a cloud. You don't get to hug people. And if you do, what does it feel like to be a ghost and a ghost hugging? I don't know. Today, I can hug my wife. Today is a great day. I don't know if in eternity I get to do that. So this is it. This to me is as good as it's gonna get. So that's it. I just like life. Name Todd only rhymes with God, but I like life.
Chad, jump back on in, man.
Sure. So, what are you doing to, for the Spawn community? I know last month was your Spawnuary covers, and it was fun to see, even local creators here, we like doing their interpretations of the Spawn and stuff. What else do you have planned? Because you have the.
Let's not breeze past that. Let's just talk about the.
Okay.
You just said a word, Spawnuary. If you don't know what Spawnuary is, boom. I always believe in every interview that there's somebody new and we got to talk to them in terms that they understand. So Spawnuary was just basically the title we gave to a contest. And the contest was, hey, anybody out there thinks they can draw, and I don't care whether you're 5 years old, 105, you've never drawn, or you've been a 40-year vet in comic books. I don't care. I didn't lay any parameters other than draw one of my characters, Spawn or one of my other characters, and the winners will get their artwork to be the official cover of for my comic book. I got 4 titles, right? I thought we'd get a couple hundred people. At last count, they said we got 3,200. We've got 3,200. I'm like, oh my God. And they've shown me, I haven't gone through them all. They've shown me, because it just ended. They're like some of the bit, like, and it is staggering, the skill that is out there. I doubt I'm going to be able to only pick 4. That it's that good. So it might be the winner that was supposed to be 1 month. I might have a year's worth of covers for all I know. I mean, there's some stuff out there that's that good. Going back to your Matt, your very first question about a lucky break. One of these people that I pick, this may be their lucky break. I put them on a cover. People like it. Somebody else phones them up saying, hey, can you do a cover for me? They do a couple more covers. Marvel phones them, DC phones them, blah, 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 blah. And all of a sudden in 5 years, they're one of the hot, 2 years, they're one of the hot cover artists in our industry. It's happened before. I've plucked people sort of out of the internet that have been living in relatively sort of obscurity, but they're brilliant artists, and giving them a chance to do covers, and now they go off, right? So they in some places they used to call it the Colbert effect or the Oprah effect. I sometimes there's a little bit of a Toddy effect. Like you come do a couple things for me, people will pay attention, and you might have a career. Cool.
We'd love to hear it. Chad?
And what about the Whatnot charity events?
So there's a platform out there, an app, I think it is, or website. I don't know officially they would call it, called Whatnot. The way that it's used for most people is that it's sort of like this instantaneous auction house, and you can buy something and you can go, hey, I'm so-and-so, I just found this here, I'm going to sell this, you've got 30 seconds, I want $1. And then people bid at the end of 30 seconds, whoever has the highest bid sort of goes. Lots of stores are using it. Lots of sort of weekend warriors that have their sort of internet stores are using it. We did one, I did it the first time I tried it. Again, everything's an experiment to me. I tried it, and we ended up selling bits and pieces of the booth that we had at San Diego. And it came about because it's like, we're always spending all this money at San Diego doing all these big sort of murals and stuff. And at the end, you got to throw them out, literally throw them out. Why? Because next year, whatever you put up is dated. So you gotta put up something else. So we created something that I go, no, I don't want to throw it out this year. And then we come up with this silly idea of, well, what if we just designed it in such a way that we could cut it up, and then people could buy squares of it, and each square was like a big poster, except for it'd be out of like cloth, because that's how they wrap booths at San Diego and convention. And I thought, okay, maybe I can get my money back out of it instead of throwing it in the garbage. And it blew up. Now, I don't want to use Whatnot, and I've told them plenty of times, I don't want to use Whatnot to make money. We make money, we're doing good. Myself and my family, we do quite well. I don't need to pick people's pockets all the time. So when I was talking to him about doing it, I go, I only do it on Whatnot if, like, I need to know, do you have a off-ramp that I can just do community stuff, where I can just come on and do a Q&A or ask me anything for an hour, and nobody has to lay down a single nickel, right? And they said, yes, they have that. Okay, cool. Because to me, the most fun I have is when I get to interact basically with the people who've supported me through my career. And then the other one is, well, we could also use it to do good. So what if we sometimes use it as a charity? That I'll still do the same thing. Hey, here's a piece of original artwork. Here's some signed comic book. Here's this. Hey, you want my hat? And then people buy it and you raise money, but all the money goes to charity. Not some of it, not a portion of it. 100% of whatever we raise that day goes to the charity that we put up a poll. I think we've got a poll up right now. I think one is for animals, one is for women, and one is for children. And it's like, surely, not getting political, but surely we can agree that children and women and animals should have sort of good opportunities to move forward as possible, right? We have
definitely.
So that's it. We're gonna do that. I think the charity is on the 12th, February 12th. We're gonna do it. So anybody sort of is interested, go to Whatnot or download the app or whatever, and we're going to do it. And I'm a little bit hopeful that if I put something up that normally would go for $10, that maybe because everybody knows it's going to a charity, they might bid 12. And you're going to get maybe a little bit elevated buys, but it's because people are basically being nice on their end, going, yeah, I don't care, I'll throw a few extra bucks because it's going to a good cause. So we as a community, and I just happen to be sort of the vessel that we could do it, can go and raise money and help a lot of people, not only in North America, but globally. So cool. Nothing wrong with that.
No, that's awesome. I mean, talk about putting your money where your mouth is, right?
Yeah, and we all have. I got, like I said, I got a warehouse full of stuff. If I can convert it into something that will help, you turn into cash first, and the cash hopefully sort of can help people. Cool, right? Like, I don't need a warehouse full of everything.
So we got time for about one more question, and I was just curious. What is, in your opinion, in your estimation, what has been the secret to Spawn's longevity?
I think you just said it. It's longevity.
Mm-hmm.
I think people underestimate how much value time is. If you just keep coming out with something over and over and over and over and over and over, it's called attrition, and you just pound people with it, right? How many companies make chocolate bars? Lots. How many people know and buy and like Hershey? Lots. Why? Because they were just there and they just were relentless and they just kept coming out and out and out. And lots of other companies came and went. But Hershey, all the way through, there's always a Hershey bar, right? And so this is how you build brand. Is Hershey the best chocolate? I don't think most of us would say yes. We've probably all had better chocolate, but it's just there. So it doesn't matter that it's the best. What it matters is that it's always there for us. So Spawn, I just wanted him to fall into the same footsteps of the superheroes and the comic books that I admired. And the ones that I admired were the ones that had the biggest numbers. Because to me, I looked at those big numbers not as something that was like, oh my gosh, I can't get involved in this. I've missed 400 issues. I took that as a badge of honor to go, wow, through thick and thin, Superman has been there. Through thick and thin. Doesn't matter the market, doesn't matter what's happening in the economy, doesn't matter what's happening with wars. Batman has been there for, nonstop since 38, right? Spider-Man and Marvel come up and Fantastic Four, they've just been there. To me, I applaud that. When I look at bands like the Rolling Stones and Kiss, and I just directed a music video with Ozzy Osbourne. These people have been around for 50 years in what is otherwise a shark-infested waters called the music industry, and they survive for 50 years. I don't worry about whether their music is the best or ranked the best. I admire that they survived for 50 years, because longevity, I now know, is a steep mountain. And there's always somebody younger, faster, smarter, more talented, ready to knock you off your horse. And you have to literally work hard every single day of your life to be relevant. And that's how you have a career. You got to be relevant. So I've been fortunate enough, and to be honest, Spawn, the comic book, has had its highs and lows. Right? It's on a bit of an uppeak right now. Who knows? In 5 years, might ebb. But it's 350 issues. So here's what I know about a character that has 350 issues. You either like them or you don't, right? Nobody's going to sit there and go, man, I've been around for 250 of those issues, but man, that last issue I didn't like. I don't like them anymore, right? You either like Batman or you don't like Batman, and there's no single issue. There's no storyline. There's no artist or writer that's going to turn you off liking Batman or Superman or Spider-Man or Iron Man, whoever your favorite character is. I think now, after 30 years, Spawn has joined those ranks of sort of what I call the A characters that he's just established. He's just part of the group now, and he's just going to continue to be there. That's the secret sauce, right? If I had quit after 20 issues or 30 issues, I'm not having the same conversation. And it allows you to not have to be perfect. Time gives you that grace, right? So I've had these conversations with a lot of artists, and some of them are really, really great artists. They've been in the business for 20 years, and they still obsess over sometimes a page. I'm like, guys, the fans like you. Not only do they like you, they love you, and they've liked you for 20 years. You could do a stick figure, and they're not going to stop liking you. They'll just go, it was an off day. It was an off day. I love that guy. I love what he does. You think when Hank Aaron, one of the great baseball players of all time, would go 0 for 4 with 3 strikeouts, you think people went, I don't like Hank Aaron anymore. He had a bad day. No, it was the accumulation of what he was bringing day in and day out that basically, and they knew he was going to have bad days, and he was going to have good days and bad days, and they gave him the benefit of the doubt the whole way. I think Spawn is got 30 years behind it. It's now kind of a little bit bulletproof. It's going to now be, the highs and lows are going to be in here, and it's never going to get sort of too crazy, and it's never going to fall off the table. It's going to be there with some of the classics, and people who are 32 years or younger have never lived on a planet that doesn't have the word Spawn in it. I'm not saying they consume it. I'm not saying they like it, but they've never lived in a world where that word isn't potentially around them. And if you're a comic book fan, then for sure you never lived in a world without that character. Cool. I never lived in a world without Spider-Man. So
there you go.
Right. So cool. That's it. So I keep trying to tell my peers, you should do more issues of your books. It's a good thing. It's a good thing. Any book that gets up to 50 issues, you don't have to do 350. That's psycho. But anything, if you can get up to 50, that's you'll cement that character. So.
I can get behind that. Todd, thank you so much for your time. And those of you listening, Spawn number 350 goes on sale on February 21st at your local comic shop. And then the remainder of this year's new Spawn titles will be on sale soon, sporadically throughout the year. And of course, all year long is the McFarlane Toys 30th anniversary celebration, which hip, hip, hooray for that. So that's the end of our show. Thank you so much for listening. I'm Matt. He's Chad. And we are the Comic Watchers. We shall return. Listen. And again, big thanks to our guest, Todd McFarlane. It took a little bit of uphill climb to get you here.
But appreciate your patience.
Hey, no worries, man. Thank you so much for coming. And everyone listening, just remember the world could be a crappy place, but it doesn't have to be. Please get out there, support your local comic shop, read something cool, read something independent, and above all, be good to each other. Thank you, and we'll see you next time.